Hey, alright, this is Alien Dead here, and I wanted to talk to everybody about my viewing experience of Strange World and why I don't think it's woke, like, at all. I've seen other YouTube channels, like The Quartering, Mauler, Nerdrotic, the Critical Drinker, quite a few different, like, think Screen Rant, I believe. There's a lot of YouTubers, that I like to hear their opinions on things and viewpoints and listen to their discussions. Like Mahler, he has viewpoints that are over like 6 hours long that I enjoy listening to because of the points, things that they bring up. And the reason I wanted to make this video is because I, just like them, and am against, like woke culture, the violation of our, culture being changed, and just because they're trying to push this message, they're trying to well, not really the message, because in my opinion, I agree with the message, like, we should be more caring about others, but not the way when they go about it as preachy, as entitled, as better than other people, but I'm probably getting ahead of myself because this is one of like the very first times I've done a video like this. But when we say something is woke, I guess let's cover the definition of what woke is first, just that way. At my understanding of it anyway, is that the definition of woke is when you take an already existing IP, say Batman, and then where you change a character for modern audiences, where, let's say, Tim Drake, I believe, is the one where they wrote him as, they either changed it to bisexual or gay, I'm not sure, but basically there's already an established character that already has established, I guess, who they are and whatnot. So when you're just going to make these changes out of nowhere, people are going to be like, no, like that's not the character. You took something that wasn't yours, that was already pre-established, and then you changed it just to fit whatever viewpoint you want. Another case in point, She-Hulk. She-Hulk is extremely woke. There's so much men are garbage, men are, like, terrible. Like, there was this one scene where her friend is like, oh yeah, hetero life is so sad or whatever, blah blah blah, and that's like an insulting, that's an attack on heterosexuality. Those are not subtle moments at all where they're literally like saying like this subject is bad or this is negative. Or another one is Batwoman, which I love hearing Mahler and them talk about it. Like it's fantastic, it's hilarious, where there's a scene where she like Ruby Rose is constantly saying that she's better than Batman, that she like can do no wrong, that yeah, like her being able to fail, it's like, oh, the batarangs, weren't calibrated right or whatever. Like, just the most inane, dumb, ridiculous things ever, to where they're tearing down previous characters to build up the new ones, where they're also considered stunning, brave, the bestest ever. And it's like, I don't want to watch that. I want to watch actual strong female characters like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Kim Possible, Hermione Granger. In my opinion, she's one of a very strong characters. There's just so many other different characters that you can actually pull from, like Ripley from Aliens, like one of like the most badass, like sci-fi girls around. Like, there's so many different actual good ways to put it, to where you're not just giving a character like everything, and then when, let's say, they're not like praised, then they act like, oh, I deserve this, I'm entitled, I'm oppressed, all this other bullshit. Where yeah, in Captain Marvel, her shackles, and what her overcoming this was, men's like telling her like, oh, you can't do this or blah blah blah. And in my opinion, that's just people will be assholes. They exist everywhere. There's always going to be someone that doesn't like what you do for whatever reason, being it because they just don't like you or they just don't like whatever you're doing. Um, and I feel like woke culture and the things that they try to do, I think, is very wrong. Um, One of the other messages they push is that they push for diversity, diversity, diversity. And so far, from what I've only seen, is mainly black women as the diversity push. So it's funny to me because it's like, well, where's all the Native Americans? Where's all the Indians? Where's all the Haitians? Where's all the, I guess, are Russians white? I don't know. But basically, it's like when you're saying like, well, we view skin color as diversity. So where's the color palette? You know, where's every single shade? Like so far, when they say diversity, it's like, well, here's a black woman, here's a black male, here's a, um, and it's like that's that's when you're saying diversity, you should actually include everybody compared to just like a small group, unless you're so-called starting out slow or whatever. But I think I went off topic there. Okay, so let's say another version of wokeness is a race or gender swap, which pretty much either adds completely nothing, or they're just like, well, we just want to change this position of power role to a female, or we're going to change this role for a person of color, black, whatever. I just use the words black because it's my opinion is fine. Other people are like, oh no, the African Americans. Well, it's like not everybody's from Africa. All right. So when you're trying to look at everything pretty much through like a political lens, your viewpoints and perspective on things become changed. And a lot of what Mahler, The Night's Watch, Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, a lot about what they were saying, you know, about like Rings of Power. Oh yeah, Disparu. I enjoy watching them. They have a lot of really, in my opinion, good points about these characters and like what they're bringing up and whatnot. But when they're talking about Strange World, in my opinion, a lot of these things aren't coming up because Strange World is its own IP. It's not based off of a book. It's not based off of like a pre-existing these are completely new characters, and a lot of their arguments throughout their videos is they're arguing like, well, they changed this character to be black, they changed this character to be a different gender, and in the beginning I was all for it. I was like, oh cool, we're gonna get a female version of this and that, and then it's like, well, the female version is better, they're stunning, brave, they're the bestest ever, and it's like, I want to see characters be challenged, become better than themselves than they once were, and a lot of these characters that are the woke characters they're already like perfect, like they have no flaws. It's everyone else that needs to change around them, and that's what's really annoying. Is like, especially like in the movie It, uh in one of the very beginning scenes of the movie is these two gay males who are, you know, like the limp-wristed, like, you know, hair and stuff, and it's like, then it shows them being attacked by like three, I guess, haters, homophobes, I guess you would call them, I guess people that just don't like other people just because of the way they are. And in media, I'm so sick of seeing gay bashing where, like in Chucky, where he's like, oh, like, his dad, he's like, you just hate me because I'm a fag, and it's like, come on, like, I'm tired of seeing gay bashing. I want to see if it's important to the story, or if it actually matters at all, where characters are accepting and they don't blink an eye. They're just like, whatever, that's cool. Okay, carrying. Let's go back, to the actual story, versus this political message of like they're still getting like tons of hate and everybody's like disgusting and this and that. When it's, in my opinion, as many, I mean, I've met people that despise uh, pretty much anybody that's not white. I mean, there's a couple of them out there that exist, but I feel like that's such a small majority versus what the actual world looks like. That like you don't, like a Karen. Like you only give her so much attention until you're like, shut up, bitch. Like I apologize to a woman named Karen, but it's that kind of mindset where it's like, how much whoops, sorry, my mic. How much attention do you want to give these people? And yeah, it's like my first video, so I'm probably sounding really poor. But back to Strange Worlds, okay? Why, in my opinion, it is not woke in the slightest. I mean, sure, it's made by Disney, who has pumped out a lot of garbage content filled with wokeness. Examples, anything pretty much after Endgame. Even that Endgame scene where it had all the women standing next together. I mean, in my opinion, it was a really, really cool image just to see them all there. But from like a battle perspective, and like an actual like they're a team, they need to coordinate together the best way possible, and the rest of the men are like, all right, you women, go over there. The men are gonna be over here doing the actual fighting and shit. And it's just, I don't know. I just found it comedic, and it's just like that. But Strange Worlds, in my opinion, the plot, it doesn't beat you over the head with like oppression of people, or like someone's of this or that color, or their sexuality or whatever is being like oppressed, or there's none really, I guess, that cynicalness that you can get from a lot of those other shows where it's like it's all like snobby, and it's like they're like stuck in a fart with an elevator, or stuck in an elevator with the fart, that kind of look, to where like She-Hulk, it's like, this is my show, like you better I'm watching, or you're watching my show, and it's like other cameos and this, that, and it's like bitch, I know it's your show, like actually, like, please, let's have like something that's fun and entertaining and enjoyable, and that like other people can look up to, because there's some weird ass articles that came out from that where someone, I think is like the writer or director or producer or somebody, was getting phone calls from 9-year-olds super excited and curious about the next She-Hulk episode. And it's like, She-Hulk was not made for children. There's so much drinking going on, and her just like being so, like, they're trying to promote like hookup culture, which in my opinion, if you and your partner have agreed to be polyamorous, that's between you two, and if both parties are completely happy with that relationship, then that's fine. That's your relationship dynamic. But most people I believe, are monogamous, and the way they deal with their feelings is with an individual versus a group. I myself am monogamous. It's just I prefer to be with one person. It's easier that way. I feel like balancing like multiple people would be a bit harder, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. Back to Strange Worlds. Strange Worlds, in my opinion, doesn't do any of the things that so many other shows have so wrongly and terribly done. And in my opinion, it's when you put like handcuffs or like shackles on writing, it's a bad thing, and you shouldn't do that, because creativity, should be allowed to flourish just like anything else. But a lot of the, I guess, choices that they make really aren't that good. So take, for instance, Strange World. Okay, so let's go over the list, I guess, of what woke things there are in it. Or I guess what could be considered woke if in the wrong context. Okay, so there's the son, which his name is Ethan Clade. He is a young black man, and he just happens to be attracted to other boys. And in the plot, or in the movie, in my opinion, he is a background character. He's not the main focus at all. It's more like, oh hey, like what are those people doing in the background? Oh, they're fixing a ship. In my opinion, he kind of took that role to where it's like, let's add some little bits to where they show him flirting with another boy, to where he's nervous, and he just can't get up the courage to talk to the person that he admires. um in my opinion, that's not woke at all. Like, in fact, like, I think that's one of the more brilliant ways they have done it, because like, think back to your childhood. I grew up in the 90s, so maybe more people would be more familiar with those kind of things, or maybe even stuff in the 80s, where look at PG-13 movies like Jaws, or um, Pretty in Pink, where they have scenes, I guess, that they where parents are showing affection to one another, hugs, kisses, um, innocent, like, healthy relationship type stuff. And the stuff that they showed in Strange World was, like, in my opinion, super innocent, not indoctrination at all. Because in my opinion, also, like, kids are, like, there's a difference between, like, nature versus nurture, to where, like, being gay is not a choice. Like, you can't influence someone to be gay. You can maybe influence someone to try something, maybe, but I don't think it's like, oh, they're trying to, like, change the entire world to this or that. And if more people, in my opinion, experience, like, oh, they just saw, two boys holding hands, or they saw two girls holding hands, like, they won't think twice of it, because it's like, oh, look, they're showing affection toward one another. And I think that's honestly a very healthy, good thing for people to experience, especially in a way that's so innocent, because it's not like they're kissing. It's not like they're going behind some closet just to like do things. It's, in my opinion, it's so innocent. It could be rated G. In my opinion, like, it's just like a normal, healthy, happy, not cynical, not, oh, the parents hate him because he likes someone that has the same thing between their legs or whatever. It's like, it's not like that at all. To me, it's like, it's okay. Like, and this character's sexuality wasn't changed. It wasn't, oh, this character in the books or the graphic novel or whatever was straight and like a real ladies man or whatever. It's like, no, he was already pre-made that way. I mean, and I don't see anything wrong with that. And then you have the dad, who happens to have married a black woman when he is white. And again, it's just a happy couple. There's not like someone outside being like, ugh, like disgusted, like, oh my god, like two peoples of the opposite gender like together. Like, I just don't, I guess I would need that explained to me why that is woke. Because throughout my daily life and where I live, like, I see interracial couples all together. Um, they seem happy. They have like little kids. And growing up, a parent that has, let's say, a black mother, white father, black mother, or black father, white mother. When the kid's growing up, there's always going to be that debate of like, well, is the kid black or white? And honestly, they're an individual, and you shouldn't apply other people's labels and groups to them, because then you're just further basically like cementing some kind of a difference between the two. Because like my friends, like, I'm not just best friends with people that like share the same skin color as me. Like, that is just like ridiculous, because people are individuals. Like, some people of like some black people you're gonna absolutely love to hang out with and be like, hey, they're the life of the party and they're your best friend. Others, you're gonna be like, get that guy away from me. I don't want anything to do with them. And that should be based on an individual person versus, well, they're all like that. Because no, that is not the case. And again, this is the movie where it has a black mom, a white dad. They created their son who was gay, and that has honestly no impact, weight, or anything at all on the plot at all. And I'm not saying that this is one of the greatest movies of all time where like it's gonna everybody should be in theaters. In my opinion, it's just like an average basic story. I liked it more than Frozen. I watch Frozen because I have like little nieces and they like to watch that princess stuff. But when I was a kid, I enjoyed the classic Disney movies with like Sleeping Beauty, stuff like that. And watching that movie as a kid, like I was never influenced to try to kiss like a sleeping girl. Like thought never crossed my mind. So it's like when people are complaining about this movie, like what exactly do they think kids could get out of this? Are they thinking like, oh, so I should start trying to flirt with the same sex that I wasn't previously, I guess you could say, attracted to or have any of that kind of thing. But it's just like one of those things to where it's like, oh, it's just there. Like, so what? So that's what. So when people are saying, like it's woke, it's this, it's that, and it's like, well, that doesn't exactly fall under, in my opinion, the definition of woke, because nothing was changed, nothing is being like screamed at you, nothing is being like, I guess sent you in like a bad negative message. And the dad and the father of the son is just like a regular dad. He's trying to build a legacy for his son to be proud of. He misses his dad. He loves his wife. And it's cute. It's a happy family story, and that's what I really appreciate. Then there is the character, the dad, who, in my opinion, is the biggest, I guess, douchebag you could say, because he only cares about his one goal, and he's literally willing to like abandon his family over it for like 22 years, to where he's like, I have to see what's beyond the mountains. I have to. It's a desire. It's a must. It's what he lives for. It's his life, and it's like, well, when you try to like come back to like see your wife or see your kids, they're gonna be mad. They're gonna be like, what the hell? Like, where were you? Like that. Like it's like the parent, going to the store, for cigarettes and never coming back, and then they just, show up to her. It's like, oh, well, I just felt like I wanted to be back, and it's like, that's very, very selfish of you to like do something like that. So, in my opinion, the worst, I guess, character is the father. The mother character, her name is Meridian Clad. She's like your typical mom, she teases her husband. She loves her husband, they kiss. Which again, in my opinion, it's perfectly innocent, because thinking back to the movies that I've seen as a child, watching on Disney, Nickelodeon, whatever, I mean, again, you see that healthy family relationship where mom and dad kiss each other, be it it's like a peck on a cheek or a hug, or they show them, being like cute and cuddly together, like something that that is healthy, I believe, for kids to see, to have like a positive image of relationships in their lives. And again, like it's not like it's trying to push, or I don't see how it's trying to push anything negative or bad when it just shows a couple being normal and happy. And then there's, I guess, the dog, which is disabled, which is for some reason woke, because pets get into accidents all the time where they lose a limb, and it's like, and it's not like the people are like, oh, you have to treat the dog differently, or you have to, like think of this or that or blah blah blah. It's just like a happy normal dog who, say, since he doesn't have four legs, he's not as, I guess, stable, so he can fall over it easier. And so in my opinion, that's like a silly complaint. That's like nothing. And then one more thing is that the movie, I guess, also tackles what do they call it? I guess like climate change, or basically like protecting the planet, environmentalism and whatnot. And in my opinion, it's completely harmless because they're on a different world, and the different world was affected by a problem. Oh yeah, spoilers. My bad. The planet was affected by basically like a disease, I guess you could say, something like that, to where, like, I just don't really see it as a negative because it was a pretty interesting plot point. Well, I guess not interesting plot point, but it made sense. Like, it wasn't just like out of nowhere, or it wasn't like bad or written poorly. It made sense to the source material. And that's another thing, like, none of these, they're like, there's no source material changes as far as I'm aware. So I guess unless the original writer had other reasons, or had their characters differently, and then Disney's like, okay, so we're going to change this, we're going to change that, blah blah blah. But in my opinion, the changes that they did make just weren't woke. Like, they didn't come off as woke as the negative versions as they usually do. And then, sorry, I'm not very good at, I guess, like, having my train of thought. And then basically, like, throughout the story, well, I guess now I talked about, well, that's basically it. Like nothing should be of this is like woke exactly, from what I can tell. All right, so let's start, I guess, with the plot of the movie, so I can try to explain this better. Because what made me go see it is seeing other people's reactions, like, "Oh, this woke bomb! It's just the worst thing ever." So it's like when you're basically, I guess, calling everything under the sun like the worst thing ever. It made me really curious. Like, so what did they do that was so woke? What did they do that was so bad? Because like Rings of Power, you have all these girl bosses, stunning and brave, can do whatever, and then you have the men just like standing around like, I don't know what to do. Let's turn to them and have them do everything. Which in Rings of Power, stuff like that, like Galadriel is the only one that has a brain in her head that can do anything, that can think, that tries to get things going. Um, and that's what's annoying. But like, I guess in this movie, like the male characters are actually able to do things. Like, they're able, in their skill set, in my opinion, because like, not every male is going to be a fighter. Not every woman is not going to be a fighter. Like, everybody has their strengths and skills, and what they learned in their experiences. And I feel like a lot of these people's experiences were actually earned. Like, there's that one lady, I believe her name is Callisto, where they like, well, I'm probably getting too ahead of myself, but where they show her to be like a very effective combative fighter. And other people would be like, oh, well, I guess other people that would try to call that woke would be like, well, that's just her, wokeness, where she's like the greatest, bestest ever, blah blah blah. But I believe they explained it to where she was a explorer previously, to where she has experience of being out in the rough and fighting and doing all these things. So in my opinion, that made sense. So basically, like, the movie, well, here, let's talk about the movie now. The movie, from the very beginning, it shows where like they're all trying, the dad, Jaeger Clade, and Searcher Clade, their father and son that are going on an expedition, uh, basically like trying to search around and try to, I guess, discover new places or whatever. And they are basically, I feel like, in a civilization that's like hasn't discovered electricity yet. They're very like in the past. So basically, like throughout their journey, they stumble upon these plants that produce electricity. So then that throws thrust them into the future and whatnot, which is pretty interesting. But like the son almost falls off a cliff and dies. The dad, does what he does best. He's, I guess, like the hero guy, and he runs to save his son, and ta-da, he saves the son. And then, like, when they make the discovery, apologies, I think I'm getting over a cold. When they make the discovery, the son's like, ooh, we should, like, test this out and whatnot. But the dad's like, no, like, my discovery is beyond this mountain and blah blah blah. And it's like, and then he just like storms off, like ignoring, like, I guess, his company to their fate. To where the dad, like, sure, he's like the great hero, but like great, even heroes can get hurt. So it's like, what the fuck? And then it turns out, like, yeah, like I said, like it like thrusts them into the future. And then the son becomes Searcher, the son of Jaeger, becomes like a farmer. He's trying to build up the legacy for his son, and that introduces his wife. And then it shows like his son, and then his son goes to like meet his friends, and then one of the boys that he likes is there, so he acts all nervous and stuff like that. And to me, those scenes completely innocent. Like, unless you're like itching to like try to see like any like scour, like, oh, like I need to be like critical of like every single tiny thing, like as minuscule as possible, innocent or not. In my opinion, like, that's not okay. Like, we should only attack, or not even attack, but we should only discuss and be like, yeah, this writing was really, really bad. The change of this character to become what they are, to start pushing this message, like the Falcon in Captain and the Winter Soldier, or no, that was called, I don't know, whatever the hell that fucking Disney TV show is called, where it's like, where it has Bucky and the dude that played the Falcon. Like, in the movie, every movie previously, like the Falcon, he's like a superhero, he's like a really cool, like, badass guy, to where in the TV show, they reduce him to a oppressed black man that can't even get a bank loan. And I was like, this motherfucker, like, saved the world. Like, nothing else would exist around him. Like, that bank should be like kissing his ass to be giving him the money. And that, like, this whole like subtle racism or subtle oppression or whatever, to me, it doesn't progress anything. It just shows like that, like, when Martin Luther King had a dream, like, we got to a point to where people didn't care, but then we got people in the media, they're like, no, like, everything's bad. And it's like, no. So when they introduced the wife character, sorry, I got like ADHD, so like my mind goes, oh, like, I'm very bad at being consistent. So then, like, and I only saw the movie once, so there's that. But then there's, the wife character. She's loving, I mean, she has, I guess, cornrows, dreads. I mean, she just has like a normal, I guess, black person haircut, which, I mean, so what? And the son, I guess, has dreadlocks or dreads or whatever. I mean, if I had hair like that, I'd probably get that hairstyle too, because I think it's pretty neat. Like Killmonger, like when he had his haircut, I thought that was pretty dope. I would do something like that too, but I just don't have that kind of hair, so it's whatever. So when I guess there's some, I guess, discovery to where like the evil lady, Callisto, I guess, well, that's what they call her, evil Callisto, under like the cast. She basically informs Searcher, like, oh, we gotta find the source of these veins or whatever, because something's affecting them, blah blah blah. But in my opinion, like, there's kind of a plot hole with that, because they take the seeds away and like plants away from I guess whatever the origin was, and the origin I guess is like deep in like this the heart of like the I guess landmass you want to call it, and it's like all connected. So when the plants are disconnected from the main I guess artery you could say, like it doesn't exactly make sense that like they're affected because like their own individual plants, but when you go back it's they're all connected. So unless they somehow like grew roots to like connect each other or something, like maybe there's something like that, but I don't know. I just felt like what. So then, anyways, like the son, he has a talk, with his dad, and the dad's like, this will be yours one day, type deal. It's not exactly specific, but something along those lines. Where it's like, yeah, son, this is gonna be yours, all yours one day, and the son's like, yeah, great. Like, I don't really want that, but the dad's like, not listening, blah blah blah, because he's like, yeah. And then like the dad starts seeing his son like as like his father, like the fucking like transformation, like it's like a big bushy mustache and stuff. I thought that was pretty funny. And the dad's like horrified, like, oh no, but but in my opinion, again, that's just not really that bad. So anyways, they decide like, oh, like our planets or whatever is gonna like reverse, so we have to do this, we have to go, and blah blah blah. So he's like, all right. So then they get a crew together. The mom, well, I guess they weren't there, supposed to be there. So then like the son is discovered on the ship along with the dog, and then some events happen to where they get like attacked by like this weird dinosaur looking virus, I guess you could say, because they're like, because basically like spoilers, if you don't want to watch it, basically like there's like a round planet, but like the landmass they're on is like a giant turtle that just swims around, so they're just living on a giant turtle, and they're somehow able to like use it as like a resource for resources and other stuff, which is pretty strange world. It's fucking it. I thought that was pretty creative and interesting because we've gotten that concept before, and this just had it with that. So then like as they're like flying around, trying to get to wherever, they like fall through the earth, and basically they explore this really interesting world, which I thought was beautiful. I love like whatever the artist did. It was very creative. Like the art style, a lot of the creatures and things were really interesting because like some were like plant animals, or they would just like look like plants, but then they'd like fly off. And I don't know, I think it had a lot of creativity in it and a lot of beautiful artwork and direction, which I feel like deserves some praise, because it looked like someone put a lot of effort into it. And just say like, oh, we all need to like despise this movie for all the woke elements it had, where you'd really have to be very negative on I guess the messages, or you'd have to be like, well, having like a flirtatious scene between like two boys that in my opinion is innocent, it's glossed over really quickly. It's pretty like in the background to where it's just like, so okay, like it doesn't really impact the movie at all. It doesn't subtract from it either. Like it's just like a scene that's like, okay, this person's like this, so what? So anyways, like while they're down there, they run into the father, and they're like, they have their discussion, blah blah blah. They have to go save the son because he went off trying to save his dad. And then like should probably edit this shit, where the dad I guess like finds out, well, he's like, oh, you're attracted to a fella, and he's like, whatever, so here's what you do, blah blah blah, you try to impress them, blah blah blah. Which in my opinion, like in other movies, TV shows, made for kids, they have super innocent flirtatious things, or some things from the past, I think could be, I guess, considered even worse. Where they're extreme, where like they have like kids, like playing truth or dare or whatever, and they go behind like a closet. It's like, oh well, you gotta kiss each other. And it's like that, I guess, could be seen as more intimate than the stuff that we got it all, to where there's literally like people's like side, like faces were like smushed against each other, like all smiley and stuff, and it's like, so what? Like, that's like nothing at all. And like, in my opinion, like a boy that watches this isn't gonna be like, oh, now I'm suddenly, I don't know, different, and now want to do something else. Where in my opinion, it's more like, so if like a kid sees like two other boys just doing that, they're not gonna be like, ew, gross. They'll just be like, oh look, two boys hanging out. Oh look, a tree. It's like whatever. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, people are individuals. Like, and I think, I guess they don't really give, like, I guess kids credit enough, because like when I was 10, like I viewed graphic material at a young age, on accident, and I don't think it really changed me or affected me in any way. Like, I still knew, like, yeah, girls, I like girls. Like, yeah, like, I don't really think anybody can be changed that way just by like viewing something simple like that, or will be like affected in any way negatively. Um, because like kids do get bullied for being in the same sex, especially in like middle school. Like kids are like merciless, and I feel like they're still developing empathy for one another. And when you're in that group mindset, to where like everyone's attacking you, it's not healthy, because some kids sadly don't deal with it well, and sometimes you have the most negative consequences that you can possibly get. And if we're getting movies like these, like Strange World, to where they show that as like a normal thing, to where it's not, in my opinion, like negative, or it's not in like a cynical, or it's not in like an indoctrinating way, it's just, here's a reality of the world that you may experience around you, you may not, and if you do see it, it's nothing harmful, it's nothing bad. And then, so back to the movie, basically they just keep going, they discover the source, whatever, and then for some reason they're like, oh, we need to destroy the plant or do some dumb bullshit, and then the family gets taken over by the crew, where they literally like shove them in a closet. And I was like, whoa, like, I was like, wow, that's pretty, like, I guess extreme or whatever. And then like at the end of the movie, they're all like buddy buddy, like arms around each other, and it's like, you just literally like threw them into a closet and like kidnapped them, and they're like completely fine with it, because I guess whatever, the day was solved or whatever. And I'm just like, if I was a parent and someone threatened my wife and child and threw us in a closet, like, I'm not gonna be extremely nice. Even if we save the day, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna have to do something to you for what you did. That's just me though. So I guess it had like, they figure out like, oh, we need to do something to the energy source to be able to fix it, and then everything can go back to normal. And then the family all leaves, and then the dad, Jaeger, goes back to his wife, which married somebody else, because he was gone for 25 years. So it's like, what do you expect? Like, you're a selfish idiot, that like literally threw your life away just to see something that didn't do anything at all. Like, it's pretty sad, to be honest. But it's like, that's basically the movie, where the dad leaves. It shows the family that has like this, I guess, they're using the discovery that they found. Something's wrong with the discovery, so they have to go down to the source of it and then try to fix it. Then they, reconnect with the dad. The dad's like, oh, hey, let me help. He goes off, but then he comes back to save, whatever, and then it's, in my opinion, it's just like a typical, basic, like not really special at all, just three or animated movie. It's not breaking down barriers. It's not, over the top of one thing or another. It's just your basic Disney flick, which, in my opinion, I enjoyed more than Frozen and a lot of the other movies that Disney has put out. And it's definitely, it doesn't compare, in my opinion, to anything else that's considered woke, like She-Hulk, Rings of Power, Captain Marvel. So I hope I've explained it well enough or got my ideas across that hopefully, people might be like, yeah, I mean, I guess it really isn't that bad. And that's the thing, like, for shows like She-Hulk and Rings of Power, yes, they should be like, everything about them needs to be, well, I guess not everything. It basically, some films and TV shows deserve a lot more, I guess, ridicule and criticism than others. Like this movie, it's like, oh, this is go woke, go broke, a super broke bomb. Like in my opinion, this movie is average. It's just whatever. Like it's a movie that you may show to like kids that are really young just so that they can see like a pretty cool like fantasy world where it's just like, oh, that's cool, that's interesting. Like Avatar has like, I guess it's not a similar plot, but it's like, I'd say it's like the same as Avatar. Like Avatar, I guess, is PG-13, but that has, like kissing in it, blah blah blah. Like other kids shows, movies, they have kissing, they have, signs of affection between parents and loved ones and whatnot, and stuff like that, in my opinion, should be, I guess, like encouraged, because like it's happy and healthy, and it's just normal to see. Like, I don't know if it's like people's views are like, we need to talk about this to the extreme, or people's viewpoints or something are just vastly different between mine, because a lot of the things that like Mahler has talked about like I watched a 6-hour video of Multiverse of Madness, and that had a lot of good points, to where like I agree with a lot of what he says, not everything, but a lot. And I just figured this video needed to be made because so many people are saying, "Oh, this is woke. This is the worst, god awful thing ever." And it's like, compared to everything else, this is completely innocent and tame, and I feel doesn't deserve its. Or I feel like people's like anti-wokeness is targeting this movie just because, yeah, it shares some of the same, I guess, themes that wokeness does, but it doesn't, I guess, what could I say? It doesn't come off as those same things as like, all men suck and all this and all that and blah blah blah, because it's just completely innocent. So I mean, if I miss something, if there's something that you're like, well, no, you're wrong, it's this, it's that, it's not okay for ages below this point, shouldn't be seeing that type of stuff. Because there's another thing too, like I guess like sexuality and like attraction and whatnot. Because just because you show like two people liking each other, I mean, it's not like it's like, oh, well, the next scene's gonna be porn, or it's gonna be something like super graphic and intimate. And it's like there I feel like there's levels to where like things are okay to show, and some things, I guess, depending on the context, then or not. So I guess you would have to decide for yourself, like if you had your own kids, like do you think the movie that they're about to watch, is it going to corrupt them and have them join the woke mob, or do you think it's just going to be like, well, it was a movie, it's generic fantasy, it's nothing crazy, it's just like your basic family story slash, helping the world. Like it's just not bad at all, and this video is way too long. But I don't know if I'm wrong here. I would love for someone to please break it down for me and explain like why something is so negative, and hopefully maybe I've got you to think, or whoever, if anybody watches this, to be like, well, yeah, it's this one's innocent. Other people are like, yeah, Disney, they're tired of like the garbage, but like when something that's actually like a normal family film comes out and it's not insanely horrible, sure, people can be like, well, it had an interracial family, it had a gay son, it had this and that, but if those are your main focus points, if just anything that features that at all bothers you, I would just ask you to please think it over again, just to make sure that the feelings that you're giving it toward like anything negative or something, like it actually deserves it. Like She-Hulk deserves all the ridicule it can get, because I was hyped for that show. It could have been fun. She could have been like the next Spider-Man if they had written it correctly, to where people, could actually have fun with the character, enjoy it, and see like, people love the Hulk. They think it's freaking amazing. But have like a character like her to where she's, like she's in Hulk form, but she still acts like Jennifer Walters. It's like, oh, what kind of dynamic is that going to give us? Not, like, oh, she tries to swipe with a ton of men on Tinder, and oh my goodness, they only have sex with her and then just leave. Why she didn't find a marriage, like a lasting relationship like that? Like, what a surprise! Obviously, it's all the men's fault. Well, anyways, that's my take on Strange World. In my opinion, no, it is not woke. It has, I guess, some themes that, or some, I guess, creative choices that people would deem woke, but it's just an okay movie. Like, I liked it more than Up. And in Up, they have like an entire, like family of like, they have a loved one die. So it's like, is death, a more acceptable concept to, share with children than, just like two boys being like, hey. But again, it's not even like the flamboyant, I guess, fairy type gayness, to where it's like they need to be out in a pride parade with like 17 dildos strapped to their body and it's like obnoxious. No, it's just like your typical, like, if people, like, you would, let's say you're at like a fair and you saw like two kids, like holding hands walking down. It's completely innocent. It's nothing bad. It's not like trying to basically be anything horrible. So I really hope, I explained it well, and I hope, you enjoy what I've said. And this is only my first video. I really want to do more. I want to talk about like Black Panther 2, because in my opinion, that one is woke, and I will explain to you some reasons why that one is. But thanks for watching. If you guys, liked what you saw, please share it. I would hope you, if anybody does see it, would share it with people like Mahler, Nerdrotic, Shadversity, just because I would like to hear their thoughts on what I have to say. Because a lot of the posts that I've seen from them, some of the videos I've clicked on, it's like they're calling it, like horrible woke Disney garbage, to where the movie, I mean, let's say you go see the movie and the plot's like, they meet the dad, blah, blah, blah. Like, just like for the visuals itself is really, really cool. Like Avatar, like I thought it was like the same, like a basic whatever movie. Like I didn't think it was like, oh, it's breaking down barriers and it's just like the most amazing this and that message of the year where it'll fucking change your perspective on the world. It's like, nah, it's just like a movie, because like, okay, let's say, how many movies do you think you've been influenced by? Like, do you think people that go to horror movies, like that see Jason, do you think they're influenced to be serial killers, or do you think they're just like, oh, I just like that, just watch, have that, like, that fun, scary, campy type of movie? So it's literally, in my opinion, I guess you'd have to have your own perspective, like that's why I wanted to share my thoughts, because a lot of Disney's decisions and choices to what they have done to past media and future media, you know, should be like, could you guys please not and actually make this entertaining entertainment? And in my opinion, that's just this what movie was. It's just like your average, basic entertainment movie that I'd probably give a 7 out of 10. Or, no, I'd give it a 6 out of 10 because this is a movie that I could, you know, like leave in the theater, go to the bathroom, and then come back and then not care if I missed, you know, a scene where they're sitting down and talking and they're like, oh no, I missed this crucial whatever, because it's not a deep movie at all. It's just like your simple, basic, surface, you know, like let's explore, find whatever, and then fix the problem, and then go back to, I guess, normality or whatever. Well, thanks for watching. I hope, you know, I'm not, even if you say I'm wrong, you know, I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'd love to hear you, you know, discuss like your things. So that's why I love listening to like Mahler, Nerdrotic, The Critical Drinker, because I love the way, you know, how they like break things down, how they explain things, how they, you know, share their ideas, and you know, it's just like a fun way to discuss things. And I feel like this movie gets more hate as it should, just because it was from Disney and because I don't know, it's got a gay son and a black mom and a white dad. Well, anyways, you know, please let me know what you think. So this is Alien Dead signing out. Peace.